Clap.
Welcome, everybody. We're being
Welcome.
professional this time, okay? So just get prepared.
We're
We're,
always professional. What are you talking about?
I don't know about that. Do you have a bee mug? What are you drinking from? What is that?
uh,
Oh, that's cute. Okay, Tigger.
and it says wired for another day.
Great. Congratulations.
If you didn't see
Fantastic.
that, that means you're not watching on YouTube. So go head on over to our YouTube.
Yeah, get
My
on
YouTube.
YouTube. Yeah,
Is it
I
on
gave up.
YouTube?
I think I gave up,
Okay.
but maybe that'll be a 2025 goal is I'm going to try to get back on it and I think I'm going to try to like put some time into YouTube because as much as I'm disillusioned by most of social media, I find value in YouTube and I watch it myself a lot. And since we put out so much great information, I'm like, I should be doing something,
Hmm.
try to figure it out a little bit. So that might be the direction I go instead of like, I don't know, anything else because I don't care. But I think YouTube is good. So anyway, 2025,
Oh my God, we love you.
back
I
at
don't
it,
care.
guys.
This is
Yeah,
so fun.
that's also my 2025
Honestly, like
motto.
I like
I
doing
don't
this
care.
for free because I don't care.
But
I'd have so
also
much
pay
fun
us,
talking to you.
everyone.
Yeah, pay
Everyone.
us all your money. Give us your
Sponsors.
logins to your bank account. Okay, just
I
kidding. That was
I
a joke.
agree. I agree. We would be talking for
Maybe.
free, but and I appreciate it and I love catching up with you. But yes, pay us, okay? Because we're smart and we have lots of information.
Are we
All
gonna
right.
get flagged for this?
Was this supposed to be I started off saying this was going to be professional and then 2 seconds later you were asking for people's banking information. So, okay, here we go. Let's just skip over all that. We are
Anyways.
talking about what I think this is something that you have brought to your group coaching, right?
Hmm.
And we were
Flex
talking
fam.
about it. Yes, we were talking about it offline. And this is like an offshoot of the menopause conversation that we get a lot of questions about. And that is, I think, a really, really practical, really important topic to discuss. And so we're going to just have a quick chat about it. I'm also going to link in the show notes. We have had some other discussions about HRT and hormonal health and things like that. We can kind of put some of it together for those of you who are interested in learning more about this stuff. But the topic to oh,
Hello.
did you have something? Did you have something to add or did I cut
Yeah,
out?
so you froze on my side. I think it's no, you froze on my side, but I think if you're good, we're still good.
Okay.
So yeah,
Let's
keep going.
just keep rolling. Let's just keep rolling.
Hmm.
Okay. So, the topic that we're covering today is how to prepare for the menopause talk with your doctor. And I think this is such a genius. This is, this came from you. I think this is such a
Hmm.
genius topic because, again, when we talk about menopause and when we hear about menopause online, it's usually professionals and doctors talking to us about it and what to expect and how to prepare ourselves and all of these things. And then when we're talking about it, maybe not you because you're a little bit younger and I'm, thankfully I'm pregnant. I'm not worried about menopause just yet, but I'm in the age where a lot of my friends are like, do I feel like crap? And is it because of perimenopause? And like, I'm
Mm.
staring down the barrel. Like, it's a conversation we're having. But what nobody seems to be talking about is okay, so if we think that this is something that's coming soon, or we want to prepare for it, or we just want to be smart and be proactive,
Hmm.
we want to get some health care, we want to talk to some professionals, we want to get a medical professional who specializes in this stuff, we want to get proper care and attention to this. How do we do that? And how do we prepare ourselves to start having this conversation with a doctor? So that's what we're going to talk about today. And I think that's just
Hmm.
really, really valuable and something that isn't really talked about that much.
Yeah. And I think we'll link the other episodes maybe
Yeah.
in the show notes
I
that
did say
we
that.
recorded.
And I think that's when it cut
Oh,
off. You
yeah.
couldn't hear me, but yeah.
Well, awesome.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Mhm.
So,
Okay.
shall we dive
Yeah.
in?
Yeah. What do you want to start or do you want to?
Whatever.
I'll start if you want.
We are so professional.
Yeah.
Um, you wanna start? You wanna
Yeah.
so okay, we'll just start off by saying we have a few tips, right? So
Yeah.
this is you've probably already said this when I paused, but this is not medical advice. This is just kind of like we work with a lot of women, and these are things that maybe I wish that some of the women knew who have already gone through this before, and then also I am thankful that I know this and we know this as we'll go through it in the future at some point.
Hmm.
So these are just kind of some tips to make you feel prepared going into this talk with your doctor. Because I feel like a lot of people just don't even know what questions to ask or what things to kind of bring to the table.
Yeah.
So these are just a few tips that we're going to go through. And
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's funny because, again, it seems like common sense, but even in our coaching practice, and I'm sure you get this a lot too, you have people coming to you who are desperate to feel better and who are eager to invest in help and assistance. And then when they get to the point of talking to a coach and you're like, okay, so what's going on with you and why do you think it's happening and what do you want to fix and what do you want to improve? They're like, I don't
Mhm.
know, really know. So this is great for talking to a doctor. This is great for talking to a coach, anybody who you are sort of reaching out to help you. You got to do your due diligence first and come prepared with, like, here's the situation, here's what I want,
Mhm.
here's the help that I need, you know?
Mhm.
Um, so one of the first tips right off the bat for to bring with you when you're going to speak to a professional, you want to start tracking symptoms. So if you are in the perimenopause or many menopause or anything else stage and you are experiencing things, you're like, this doesn't feel right, or I feel off, or things are changing and I don't know why. Instead of just having that kind of nebulous thought in your head of like, I just don't feel right and things don't feel good, start really paying attention to it and tracking it meticulously. What does that mean? What symptoms are you feeling? When are you feeling them? How often are you feeling them? What things are changing? What things are, staying the same in terms of maybe your lifestyle that would make this change in symptoms weird? The more
Mhm.
information, the better. We talk a lot about tracking and how you can't really measure or change anything if you aren't tracking it. And that's the case with this too. So, you talk about a symptom tracker. I'm assuming that's something you made, right?
Yeah, so it's something that I've kind of developed off of research and other professionals that I followed. And specifically, it's just kind of taking all of the symptoms that are that can be because of certain things. So, like low progesterone, what are some of the symptoms of that? High progesterone, low estrogen, high estrogen, low testosterone, high testosterone, blah, 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 blah. So, there's certain symptoms that and a lot of these can overlap too, so you don't necessarily have to like be paying attention to like those things exactly, but kind of having that in the back of your mind and being aware of that can be important. And it just like there's so many different things. I'll just read off a few here. So obviously when we're talking about like sleep, so what's happening with sleep? Are you having hot flashes? Are you waking up in the middle of the night? Are you having trouble falling asleep? What's your libido like? What's I don't know. Are you waking up super groggy? Are you noticing extra water retention in certain areas? Are you having brain fog or memory issues that are coming out of nowhere? What else? There's so many different ones, and it's just kind of a matter of like starting to put them into a place where you're not just like, oh, this happened. I'm gonna note that in my mind for the future. It's like, okay, let's actually write these down, or let's have something that we can easily use to track the symptoms over time. Because then when you have, you can go to your doctor with a list of like, okay, these are 5 to 10 symptoms that have been developing over the past several months that have either come out of nowhere or they're more consistent than they've been in the past. And those can help give your doctor an idea of what might be going on. And especially in the realm of if you are um, wanting to or have the goal of in the future starting potential hormone replacement therapy, your symptoms are going to be what guides your doctor to prescribing you the different types of hormones, whether that is progesterone, estrogen, maybe testosterone down the line, et cetera, et cetera. So the symptoms are really kind of where it's at. A lot of people are like, oh, I'll just, have my doctor take my blood work and they'll know exactly what's going on. That's not how it works. Your blood work is a snapshot in time. And we've talked about this on future
Mhm.
episodes. Definitely check those out if you haven't already. But the symptoms are really going to be where it's at because everybody is so different. And so if you go to your doctor with this list of these are the things that I've been experiencing specifically, when I experience them, how long I've been experiencing them, that will allow them to help you a lot in a much more efficient way, I would
Mhm.
say.
Mhm.
So that's kind of where the symptom tracker comes into play.
And it's also worth noting because it's not, it's not, it's a fact, I'll say, that women are typically not listened to and understood and respected, generally speaking, in medical situations, as well as that's a whole other conversation. We've talked about it. And any woman who's listening to this knows the truth of this, right? That it's a
Hmm.
sort of, there's a very historical misogynist kind of approach to this where women's symptoms and feelings are often dismissed. And, anyway, I could go down a real rabbit hole here, but what I'm saying
Yeah.
is if you feel, and if you have experienced this in the past where people have dismissed your feelings or your symptoms, or if you haven't been listened to, a really great way to try to bring this home and try to get more attention and respect for how you feel is to,
Hmm.
instead of just saying like, well, I just feel foggy sometimes and I don't feel good. And I remember last week I just was so emotional. Like that is not going to be as effective as like, here's my spreadsheet of like my meticulous tracking of
Yeah.
everything that I've experienced. And I can tell you definitively what's happening and show you. That's going to help. And maybe it sucks that we have to be like that to get people to pay attention to us, but the more
Hmm.
information the better, and you're only helping yourself by doing this, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, exactly. And doctors and healthcare providers are very like data driven, right? So they're very scientific. They're base their stuff off of research and science, of course, obviously. So if you have data to bring your doctor, right, they're going to be like, "Oh wow, this person is really like on top of it." And that's going to show that you are also coming into the conversation with previous knowledge.
mhm.
And in that regard, what you say moving forward from there, in my opinion, your doctor is going to respect that and listen even more than if you were to go in and be like, "Hey, I've had this thing happen. Like, I think I need some hormones.
Yeah,
Slap them on me." Right?
yeah,
Like, it's completely different conversation. So, yeah.
yeah. They know you're taking it seriously
Hmm.
too. Yeah.
Yeah. Sweet. So that was tip number one, which I think is probably like the most important one. They're all very important, but this one I think is just going to be the one that gives you the most bang for your buck if you can do that. Do you want me to go into number two?
Yeah.
So number two is knowing your family history, right? And being able to share that with your provider. If you have a provider that you've worked with for a long time, they probably already know this, but certain specific things within this that maybe you didn't think about, or maybe you don't know, and hopefully you can try to find out. There's two like bullet points I have here on my notes. The first one is your mother's menopause journey. So when did she stop having your periods, right? Because some of this stuff is genetic, of course. And so knowing that and at least having an idea of that and sharing that with your doctor can give them a little bit more to go off of as well. And
Hmm.
then also what symptoms did she notice for herself, right? So that's a good one too if you do have the availability to talk to your mom. Not everybody does, but that could be something that can help just kind of bring a little bit more information into the picture.
Hmm.
And the next one is just your general family history of diseases. So, like heart attack, stroke, dementia, cancer, all of that. If you do have a family history of breast cancer or a personal history of breast cancer, something that and we've talked about this, I believe, on the previous episodes. There's a lot of misinformation around this when it comes to like hormone replacement therapy and breast cancer. Just because potentially you've had this in your family, or even if you have dealt with this yourself, it doesn't necessarily rule out um, you from using or getting HRT, right? So every woman's unique. Everybody has a unique history, set of genes, lifestyle, all that stuff. And so you just want to kind of be aware of that and not necessarily completely rule that out or, feel like you're doomed if that's the case.
Hmm. Yep. Yeah, and as you're saying, and I think we talk about it a little bit later, but ideally finding someone who really is experienced and a professional in
Hmm.
menopause related medicine, anti-aging medicine, like knows this stuff is going to be um, ideal. And there are other things in addition to hormone replacement therapy that can be discussed, that can be tried. That's sort of the thing that everyone
Hmm.
talks about, and it probably may in many cases be the most effective, but there are other options, and someone who is
Mm-hmm.
really well versed in this is going to be able to talk you through the pros and cons and risks and whatever benefits of all of these things. So
Mm-hmm.
HRT is important, and we should know about it, and we should explore it, and we should discuss it, but it's also not the only thing that you can do
Mm-hmm.
to combat symptoms or issues you're having, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Number three, you want to go for it?
Yeah. So, number three, be ready to talk about what your goals are in relation to your hormonal health or your approach to perimenopause, menopause, whatever. This again goes back to what I was saying about the coaching.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's amazing how many people like they think they know what their goals are, but they're really not well formed or maybe well thought out or so vague as to be completely unhelpful for the professional who is trying to assist you.
Yeah.
So, again, it's great to say, like, I want to feel good. I want to have consistent energy. I want to have my libido back. I guess that is a pretty good goal, but like, try to be as specific as possible rather than just say, like, oh, I just want to feel better or I don't want to get old or whatever. Like, just
Mm-hmm.
know what you really want to get out of your work or your interaction with this professional, because that's going to help direct what they're going to recommend to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, is there anything else you want to add
Cool.
there? I think it's pretty
No, I think that was pretty
self-explanatory.
straightforward. Yeah.
Yep.
And then the last one is just kind of, we've already touched on this, and we talked about this as well in previous episodes on hormones and HRT, but finding a provider who specializes in menopause. So this is something that a lot of people don't think about either. Um,
Hmm.
there are, all different types of doctors out there, obviously, and there are certain doctors who spend a majority of their time with perimenopausal and menopausal women, and that is like their specialty, right? And they're up to date on the most recent research, which is very important. Because this is especially important around this topic because there has been, especially with like the women's health study, the things that we talked about in previous episodes, there's been a large shift over the last few years. And if you are working with a doctor who is not up to date on that and they're kind of stuck in things that they've learned or heard from 10 years ago, probably not great for you, right? So this is one, and it's obviously very important to like find someone that works well with you and jives well with you, but you want to make sure that they are specializing in this area if you can. And it's going to take some time. You might have to see a few different doctors to find one that fits well with you, that you have a good gut feeling about, that you've asked, you can ask questions to, things like that. And I do have a few notes here on like specific things to kind of just look out for. So the first one is, are they knowledgeable about HRT, right? So that's going to be
Mhm.
important. If that's something that a route you want to go down, they need to be knowledgeable about the different types of hormone replacement therapy. Also, are they open to potentially both FDA approved and compounded hormones? We talked about this in a previous episode. Um, I'm not going to get into that now, but you can listen to that other episode. So that's something to just be aware of as well. And then the third one is a little bit more specific, but do they believe in and prescribe testosterone for women? Because there's a lot of doctors out there who do not. And this is something that, eventually, if you are going down the HRT route, testosterone is a hormone that's going to, at some point, dip down as well, depending on where you're at in your journey. So it is a warning sign if there's a provider that uh, is like, hey, I don't prescribe testosterone at all. That
Mm.
probably means that they are not up to date on the current research and they're not an expert in HRT. So you just want to kind of keep a few of those things in mind. There's obviously other things as well, but those are just kind of a few of the first like red flags, I would say, that I've seen in the research that I've done regarding all of
Mhm.
this. And
Mhm.
then the last thing is, you want to make sure that, you're also open to, obviously it's lovely if all of these doctors are in network with us with your insurance. And of course, everybody has, their different resources and things that they have availability to. But it might be the case that someone who is a true menopause specialist is out of network for you, and they may, or maybe like just certain things aren't covered by insurance. So that's kind of obviously to each their own, and something that you have to, you know, think through yourself and the resources that you have available. But once you do get settled in with, if you do decide to go down the HRT route and you or maybe you work with a provider for like the first year or two, even if they're out of what network, you have to pay out of pocket for certain things. Once you get into your regimen, you will, and you kind of, are, because it's not going to happen right away, right? Dosing HRT takes a while. You have to play around with certain things. Everybody's their, has different dosages. Everybody's their own individual. But once you kind of get that dosage down for a certain period of time, then you'll only need to likely see your provider like a few times a year. So this expenses will likely level out by that point. Again, everybody's has, I'm not telling you to like go spend a ton of money on someone who's out of network, but those are just some things to keep in mind, especially if you've had a bad experience with providers who are in network. And that's kind of just like, we talk about this all the time. Like, if you're willing to put some of those resources towards you feeling better every day and sane and having a good quality of life, to me, like that's worth it to me, right? But to each their own. Just a few kind of things to be aware of, I guess you could say.
Yep. Yep. It is a good investment, but it also depends on, what's
Yeah.
going on with your life. I
Mm-hmm.
want to go back to the testosterone thing for a second, just because I have been really fascinated by how true and how much of an issue this is. Like, I've had so many clients and just women in general talk to me about they're talking to their medical provider, they're entering the HRT discussion, and how many of these people who are, or they say they are, HRT experts, hormone, menopause experts, and they're like, yeah, we don't deal with testosterone. I'm not giving you testosterone. We're not even talking about that. That's not on the table. That's fascinating to me and
Mm-hmm.
so bizarre. And I think weirdly, we've conflated this idea that we have a lot less testosterone than men with we have none and it's inconsequential to us, which is completely
Mm-hmm.
incorrect.
Yeah.
Both, like, everybody has all of the hormones. Everybody needs testosterone, and we also really need it, and it can have a huge impact on our quality of life and a whole host of potential symptoms. And it's just so bizarre that that's not a part of the conversation when the rest of it is starting to catch up, and then that
Mm-hmm.
part is still just like very much missing. So um don't
Yeah.
yeah, that's a thing, and you may encounter it, because I'm surprised at how, even in the, again, kind of more knowledgeable industry that we're in, that's still something that is definitely lacking for women. So yeah, definitely
Yeah.
pay attention to that.
Yep.
Okay, well,
I think that's it.
yeah, I mean, that's plenty, I think, to get you started. If you're somebody who is like, I'm thinking about this, I'm like, I'm going to talk to my doctor, I'm going to go find a doctor, I'm just starting to, things are starting to change and feel different, and I want to get ahead of this and I want to be on top of it. These are very actionable. It's not
Mm-hmm.
overwhelming, it's not a ton of stuff, and to your point, you don't have to do anything crazy or maybe invest a ton of money yet, but these are smart, actionable items to start feeling like you are getting a handle on things and paying attention to things and preparing yourself so that you can bring the information that's required to the professional that you end up working with, and they can help
Mm-hmm.
provide the best plan for you. So, great starting point. And
Yeah.
that's
Hopefully
it.
that helped a little bit.
Yeah. And if you guys like it, you can rate and review and subscribe and send this to somebody in your life. And again, if you are in your late 30s, 40s, 50s, chances are when you get together with your girlfriends, like I did last weekend, and have a nice dinner, you're talking about hormones, which is not the most fun conversation that I've ever had with my
Mm-hmm.
girlfriends, but it's happening now. So if you have some girlfriends who are like, oh, I think I'm in perimenopause, I don't know what's going on, send them to our podcast, because we have some resources and
Mm-hmm.
we can potentially help you guys out. If you have any thoughts about this, if you have anything else related to this that you'd like us to discuss, any other questions, want to say hi, whatever, send us a message. Muscle Science for Women at gmail.com. We read all your emails
Mm-hmm.
and we appreciate them. So we love your feedback. We love you guys being involved.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's
Take
all.
care of yourself.
Couldn't agree more. Don't do stupid shit.
Don't be insane. Until next time.
Till next time. Love you.
Bye. Love you.
Bye.